Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well, and welcome to a brand new update on Bitcoin. In this video, we're going to talk about the fact that Bitcoin has just hit our first upside target and what this potentially could mean going forward for Bitcoin. Before we get to that, and by the way, you're probably asking yourself right now, well, hang on a second, Alessio, what target are you talking about? Which Bitcoin target? So let me explain. First of all, if you're new to our videos, if you're watching our videos for the first time, or indeed just to give you a refresher, let me just give you a quick recap. As you may recall, we've been bullish on Bitcoin now from the beginning of January, from the beginning of 2020. So as you may remember, at the start of January, on January 4th, I published this video you saw, which was a pattern not seen since 2013, showed that Bitcoin could skyrocket higher. In fact, this is the video right there, as you can see there. And what was that pattern I showed you? That was a pattern seen on the weekly chart on Bitcoin in 2013. This is it. This is actually from the video from January 4th. And I said, when this pattern happened last time around, Bitcoin skyrocketed higher. In fact, let me show you on the weekly chart. There it is. This is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. And what I showed you in that video, again, from the start of January, was that essentially the momentum was shifting the other way, going from negative to less negative. And essentially that showed a high probability that we could skyrocket higher. Now, I did mention in that video that Bitcoin had to first break a key resistance. And what was that resistance? Well, a few days later, on the 6th of January, I published this video you see there. And I said, look, if Bitcoin breaks this level, we're bullish. And in fact, on that day, we turned bullish because this is what happened. There it is. That's a 6th of January bar right there. And on that day, we broke a key resistance level. And essentially, we turned bullish on Bitcoin right there on the 6th of January. And we pretty much called it a bottom for Bitcoin. In fact, here's the video clip right there. And I'm of the opinion that at the moment there's a high probability here that Bitcoin has potentially bottomed. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Essentially what I said was that if Bitcoin breaks a key level here, then very likely we could move further higher towards our next wave 3 targets. In fact, that one target was the 9,400 level. The next target, the 3.2 level, is of course 10,200. By the way, guys, in case you're wondering, this is our own LT Elliott waves indicator, which automatically plots for you on the chart the probable Elliott wave counts. By the way, I'm sure you already know this, but most other crypto YouTubers and analysts out there are still in the disbelief stage when it comes to Bitcoin. Most crypto YouTubers and analysts have came late on the scene and they completely missed this move and they've been surprised by this move, as I'm sure you probably know. Why is that? Well, I'm guessing because they're probably very rigid in their analysis and they have very little respect probably for the laws of probability. As I'm sure you know by now, we have to respect uncertainty and probability when it comes to chart analysis. But really, from the start of January, we've been anticipating what is the more probable wave counts based on everything, based on market structure, and based on many things we see on the chart. For example, I mentioned this, as you may recall, last year in 2019, I said what we're waiting for is also to wait for a higher low. And we got a higher low. We actually have now, as you can see, one higher low here we made in January, and another higher low we made recently. In fact, by late January. So we got two higher lows here, showing to us an increased probability of a staircase pattern, the very signature of an uptrend or indeed of a bull market. And as you may recall, guys, in my previous video also, the one I posted quite recently, the fact that Bitcoin was ignoring extreme optimism, Bitcoin was ignoring the sentiment, that also showed the fact that we're very likely in a bull market. So essentially, guys, as I mentioned in the previous video clips, and again, from this video I posted from the 9th of January, our first wave 3 target is about 9,400, which we just recently hit. And that puts our next wave 3 target at about the 10,200 level now into view. And I think very likely by February, as a matter of fact, as you may recall, in my most recent update, I showed this. This is the seasonality chart of Bitcoin, and I showed that February seems to be the strongest month on record seasonally. Now, of course, seasonality is not always 100%. Sometimes, again, seasonality does not fall into line. But again, the majority of the time, again, the sample size is a bit small. We only have about 6 years of data for the seasonality chart. But the bottom line is February seems to be the strongest month on record. And that means that there's a high probability the month we're in right now, the month of February, could potentially follow a seasonal pattern of strength. And even if not February, perhaps April. So even if we don't get to 10,000, 10,200 in February, we might get there in April, which is the next very strong month you can see here. This chart here, and also the chart of Bitcoin itself, based on the higher lows and the fact we're above the 200 daily moving average and the momentum, and also the fact of the wave counts, the wave 3 potential wave counts. These seem to indicate the next potential target on Bitcoin, guys, is about 10,000 to 10,200, provided we remain above 8,600. So as long as we remain above 8,600 to 8,200, the lows we made in January, then the probabilities seems to favor further upside towards the next wave 3 potential targets.